of June, 2023. Looks like we've got a few questions ahead of time, and we'll be checking the chat to see what's going on there. If you've got a question, go ahead and pop it in if you didn't get in ahead of time. And if you're catching us for the first time and you don't know what I'm talking about, what you can do with Hump Day Hangouts, whether you're watching the replay or watching live, you can always go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions and pop in a question ahead of time. We know not everybody can make it here. Maybe you aren't sure if you're going to be able to make it, but you got a question, or it's just on top of your head on a Saturday afternoon. Well, you can head over there and ask your question, and we will get to it. And then you can come back, subscribe to the channel, and check out the replay when we post it. We also chop up the replays into individual questions to make it much easier to search and find information. So all of that to say, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, whether you're live or watching the replay. If you're here live, say hello, let us know you're here. Really enjoy the chat and the interaction. It's good to see people. And other than that, I want to say hi to the guys real quick, and then we will get into the questions after a couple announcements. So Chris, how you doing? I think you've been, what, did you just get home after traveling for like a day and a half or something?
Yeah, not a day and a half, just 20 hours.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like a bit tired and stuff. So it is what it is. Like, other than that, pretty happy to be back home. Not sure for how long, because I always like traveling.
Nice. Well, speaking of traveling, I'm going to get an early promo in before I ask Bradley how he's doing. Traveling, put it in your day timer, put it in your event planner, put it in your whatever you use. POFU Live last weekend of September is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts, September 29th and 30th. We're getting together everything. We already have a few speakers rounded up. If you want to go see who that is, head over to pofulive.com, grab an early bird ticket before prices go up here before too terribly long. We're lining up the VIP event. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely going to involve some form of hang out together, most likely a dinner, and then we're looking at different events we can go out and do as kind of a group, have some fun and shoot the breeze, as it were. So Bradley, with that said, how are you doing today?
Good. Every time I hear Boston, I think of that. I think it's a Miller Lite commercial from Boston. You know what I'm talking about? It's funny as hell with a stupid Boston accent. Anyway, I hope I didn't just offend anybody, but anyway, I'm good. Busy as all hell. It's been a very busy week, but good nonetheless. So happy to be here. We don't have many questions today, though, so perhaps we can chat it up with the chatty bunch in the group.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
They have other beer than Miller Lite in Boston, right?
What's that?
They have other beer than just Miller Lite in Boston,
I certainly
right?
hope so, yeah. I mean, not that I drink anymore, but yeah.
I was trying to think. I think Harpoon is the one of the big ones up there. I know I've been to that brewery up there, but yeah, there's a lot of if you're into beer, Boston's not a bad place to be.
Sam Adams too, right? Isn't Sam Adams from up there?
Sam Adams, Harpoon. If you're into other recreational activities, they got that too. So there's all sorts of stuff you can do there.
So we're gonna do a green juice tour.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That may be on the side, maybe not an official semantic mastery tour. So
yeah, well, yeah, Stoner SEO.
Maybe Mike's watching. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when it's more appropriate. But Stoner SEO might be a thing.
Awesome.
Might be a thing.
Well, real quick, I wanted to mention the mastermind. I just was grabbing that video for Bradley. And then speaking of that, Bradley, you have been continuing on with the beta group. I just wanted to ask any updates or anything on that, or you mind sharing with people kind of what you're doing with them this last week?
Yeah, sure. And I should probably, no, I won't do that now. We might, maybe if we have time later today, I'll show it. But I've just been working on kind of reorganizing existing SOPs and then updating, which, by the way, anybody in the mastermind, I updated the Google Business Profile SOP today. I made actually 2 separate updates. I made one and then published it, and then found I needed to make another one, and I updated that as well. So I posted in the group about that, just so you guys know, but it is a new release, 1.2.4, I believe. So I would encourage you guys to download the new or import the new template if you don't already have it. By the way, just kind of an aside, this is some kind of inside baseball type stuff, Adam. Anytime I make a change to the SOP, we have to also have it updated in Notion. And that's going to be a bit of a nightmare because I've got to keep track of absolutely every change, and I have not been doing that. So I don't even know how we're going to resolve that. So maybe we can make a note of that for us to talk about next Tuesday.
You can track it in Notion as well.
Yeah, we'll I got a way to do it, so we'll bring it up. And,
Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, just because I thought about that and I was like, man, what a mess this is going to be. Every time I make a change, we have to relay that to someone else, and it's got to be moved and changed somewhere else. But it is what it is. So anyway, I've been working on that, and it's massive. This is a whole business plan that I'm trying to develop as much as, SOP training for as possible. It's been in the works for over 2 years. And so now I'm really getting to the point where I'm trying to consolidate, make it happen. And so it's massive. And with the help of the beta group members, primarily Cecilia, thank you, Cecilia. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. She's been providing a lot of detail about, how to make it better and where things need to be updated and all of that. Thank God, because I don't have the time or the bandwidth or the desire to go through all of my own training to figure this stuff out. So the beta group members are going through and finding stuff that needs to be updated or, and all that, and telling me, and then I'm going and changing them. So everything is being made more current and relevant to today's standards and what we do. And it's massive, but it's great because, like I said, getting help from others makes it to where it is going to be so brain dead simple for people to just follow the damn process and be able to get results. And that's really what I wanted, was a business plan in a box, not just here's how to do certain SEO tactics or whatever. This is a whole entire plan for how to get results, build an agency, a brand, an agency, directory, prospecting and sales, all of that, like the whole 9 yards. So very, very thorough. I'm excited about it. It's going to be several more months before it's ready, but this is by far, the project I'm probably the most proud of in my entire career so far. And we'll see how it pans out in the end, but I'm excited about it for sure. So.
Nice, guys.
That was it.
Let's see. Last thing I wanted to mention was the web apps. So those of you who are familiar with those, Chris Greenhouse put together some really cool web apps that Bradley and some of the mastermind members have been using. So I'm going to just post a link to that. We've got a super fancy Google Docs page that explains everything. So kind of tongue in cheek. It's really cool. Chris put it together. It's really self-explanatory, but you can get a bundle of these apps. So just go check those out if that's something you want. There's instructions in there on how to get access to them. Some pretty cool stuff like I forgot because I was looking at something else before this. I know one of them was what was the lat
longificator.
Yeah, CIDificator and the publificator. So getting folders published, all sorts of good stuff.
Chris and his names.
I love it. So let me put that in there and then I'm good to go. Any other announcements, you guys?
I don't have any at the moment.
All right. Well, let's jump into questions then.
Local blog links. We can talk about that briefly too. So just so you guys know, I did launch a service on Vetted, also directly through Semantic Links for local blogs. I did not update the sheet this week. I should have, but I just didn't. So I'll update it Monday again next week. But we've got, hold on, stand by. I'll tell you exactly how many I have. We're growing over 30 blogs per week right now. So it's just crazy how quick this is growing.
I meant to ask you for personal reasons, but other people might appreciate this, Bradley. For niche edits and the blogs, is it meant for local only? Or
no, it can be used. Okay. Yeah, it can be used for remember, topical relevance matters for ranking and organic, period. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you were trying to keep it that way or, okay, gotcha.
No, it doesn't matter. We got 231 blogs right now, local blogs. Most of, the 90% of them, or maybe even more, are in the United States, but we have some in some of the other countries too. So I just letting you guys know in case you are need some locally relevant links. We do have a source for that now. And like I said, we're growing at a rate of over 30 blogs per week right now. So every single week, I'm supposed to be updating the CSV sheet once a week. But I didn't this week, but whenever I update it, you'll see all the new ones. So just keep that bookmarked. I do have a link for that just as far as the sheet, But if you, by the way, if you just go to my profile and vet it and you see the local blog links, if you're interested in that, there's a link in there that will take you to the CSV sheet and you can see what's available. So just letting you know.
And don't forget to use the code semantic.
That's right. That's right. Semantic. If you use that code, semantic, coupon code semantic, you get 10% off. And it doesn't have to apply just to semantic links. It can be for any service on Vetted. Okay. All right, guys, let me grab the screen and we'll get into the few questions that we have, and then we'll get into chatting with everyone else. Okay, I think we're good. So the first question was from Luffy. It says, hey, Bradley, I was wondering if my rankings will be affected if I change the phone number on my website, if I use the phone number to build my local citations. Now, if you, especially if you go in your Google business profile, you can add an additional number. So if you want to make, like, for example, if you're going to add a tracking number, which makes sense, so you can track the calls and all that, then just go into your Google business profile, click the, details or whatever, info, business info, click edit, go into the phone number section, click edit, and then you click add an additional phone number and it reveals another text field. So then you take the original phone number, copy it or cut it out of the, and put that into the additional phone number field, and then put the tracking number in the main primary phone number field. What that does is it tells Google that both numbers are associated with that Google business profile, but it will display the tracking number. But that way it's still connected, that the original phone number is still connected to the profile. Does that make sense? So if you have old or existing citations out there that have the original phone number, it won't cause NAP discrepancies, because Google understands that both phone numbers are associated with that profile. Is that clear? Easy peasy. Whoops. Sam says, in the mastermind, do you teach how to find clients who need Google business profile optimization? And is the mastermind a good place to learn how to fulfill that service? Yes, it is. And yes, we do. So that's basically it. Yeah, we do both of those, Sam. We have the Google Business SOP, which is what I just updated that today. Just so everyone knows, what I removed today was the geotagging section of photos, because I'm not doing that anymore. And we had somebody, one of our members, asked a question about one of the geotagging softwares that I recommended. But we stopped a couple of months ago now, or a few months ago now, really geotagging images, because we just switched to using QR codes. It's so much easier. It's so much faster, so much easier to implement. And it works. It still works good. So we're using QR code overlay instead of geotagging. And so I produced some training on that today and added that to the mastermind, or excuse me, the SOP, for those of you in the mastermind already. To get back to Sam's question, yeah, we teach also how to prospect. Like, by far the best prospecting method that I've ever come across is using the directory site. Speaking of which, James Slattery, hey man, I've not checked out your course yet. I'm sorry, I've been incredibly overwhelmed this week, but I do plan on reviewing it. I heard some good things from it. I've heard from some others that have reviewed it. So I understand it is a great course, which I wouldn't expect anything less from you, James. So I will certainly give you a shout out once I have a chance to review it. And like I said, we might be able to work something out to promote it to our list for you as well. So let me know if that's what you want to do. Moving on, Steve says, I'm nearing completion of a complete website rebuild for a client. They are planning to move in a few months. Should we wait and launch the new website and the new location at the exact same time, or spread it out? That's a good question. I wouldn't wait. I'd go ahead and launch the new website now. And if you're going to change the location, just do that later, because a major structural change like redesign of a website, well, design can affect ranking, but it doesn't necessarily always automatically mean that it will. But major structural changes to a website absolutely will cause ranking fluctuations, a lot of volatility, because it's like dropping a rock into a pond. It causes a ripple effect that's, kind of just expands and continues. And it's the same thing that happens with the algorithm. When you change the data significantly, it causes a ripple effect. So you're going to see a lot of volatility while Google's trying to figure out what to do with the new data. So I would go ahead and execute that first. And then that way things can kind of settle, let the dust settle. By that time would be then a good time to go change the location as well, right? To move the location. So I would, because otherwise, I mean, again, Let me back that up. Let me back up for a minute, because you're likely going to see volatility in the search results. If you're not already ranking incredibly well, then it shouldn't make a difference. Just go ahead and execute or deploy the new site now, right? And then you can do the physical location moving or changing at a later time. If you're not already ranking well, it's not going to cause much problem, right? It's not going to prevent you from generating leads if you're not already generating leads from the site. You see what I'm saying? If you are ranking quite well with the existing site the way it is, then maybe it would make more sense to wait and do both the site change and the location change at the same time, because as I mentioned, you're likely going to see a lot of volatile swings in the search results. And if you're already ranking well and you deploy the new site, then you could potentially lose leads while it's trying to settle. And if you're going to change locations, that's going to probably cause a lot of, or will, especially in maps, well, depending on where you're moving, but it's likely going to cause a significant drop in maps too until the dust settles. So you might, again, if you're already ranking well, then maybe you do both of those at the same time, because then you kind of like rip the Band-Aid off all at once. But if you're not already ranking well, then I would say, push the new site out now, so that things can settle down. And then when you go to make the change in the Google Business Profile, location change, you'll experience it again, but the site will have, the algorithm will have kind of settled in on the new site, if that makes sense. That's how I would do it. Okay. Okay, the next one is from Roland. He says, hey, Bradley, we recently purchased Jack Bosch's land profit generator program, and it comes with 4 months free access to their own CRM called Investment Dominator. After 4 months, the Investment Dominator costs $197 a month. Just wondering if the CRM is necessary, or can we still do well in land flipping without this? So to be clear, I ended up purchasing it too. I avoided it for as long as I could, but I ended up subscribing to it. And it's clunky. But it works. It works great for automating the mail merging and all of that stuff, keeping track of property records. And I mean, I haven't used it now in 2 years, so I don't know if it's been improved upon or not, but it was clunky when I used it, and I didn't like paying the $197, but it was convenient. And so before I subscribed to that, I tried to set up my own kind of CRM in Podio, or Podium. Podium is the, it's one of I think it's Podio, which is like I think that's what I'm thinking of. Podio. I can't remember. I think it was that one. Yeah, that's that one. I tried to set it up in this, but there was a learning curve with trying to set all that shit up. And honestly, I didn't have the bandwidth for it. So I just sucked it up and paid the $197 for Investment Dominator, because it was already built out to have the CRM and mail merging and all that stuff. And so, I mean, you can do it. Like if you're proficient with ClickUp or Monday or any of the kind of project management apps, then, you can build your own CRM. However, how much time do you want to spend learning how to do all of that? That was my point, right? Like I attempted to try to do it with Podio myself. And after spending 12 to 15 hours or something like that, and really not making much progress, I just said, what the hell am I doing? Just pay the $197 a month, man. You know what I mean? And so that's what I did. So, I mean, you can start off without, you get 4 months free, right? So that's the thing. Follow the training, go make some money, go flip a couple of properties. I promise you can do it if you try hard enough, and then you'll have plenty of money to pay for that, to pay for Investment Dominator. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you can try to do it without using that. If you go 4 months and you haven't flipped a property, and then they want to start paying you and you don't want to pay for it, then you can do it, spreadsheets and everything else. But like I said, what is your time worth, right? If it's going to significantly slow you down and make it harder to keep track of everything and follow up and all of that, you're better off just paying the $197, in my opinion, or finding somebody that has a comparable type of app that they've built and use that, right? And by the way, you can oftentimes find, people on Upwork and, the freelance marketplaces that are experts or proficient at things like Monday or ClickUp that could potentially duplicate a lot of Investment Dominator's functionality into one of those other services. So, but again, you're going to pay for pay for a developer or whatever to do that for you too. So it's like 6 in one, half dozen in the other, right? Sometimes saving a few dollars just costs too much. I've got that as a quote written down on my whiteboard. It says, sometimes saving a few dollars just costs too much. And that's true. Stop walking over the dollars to get to the dimes. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not picking on you, Roland. I'm just saying, like, I know I'm guilty of this sometimes. Sometimes I want to be cheap. And instead of just paying for something, I'll do it myself. And then I realized I just spent 2 hours on something that I could have paid somebody $50 to do. And my time, in my opinion, is worth a hell of a lot more than $25 an hour. You know what I mean? So all I'm saying is, consider your time and how much learning curve there would be in trying to do it and build a system and a process to manage all of that on your own versus just paying for something that's already pre-configured for what you need, right? I wasn't crazy about it, but I used it and it worked. So there you go. Gil says, local links. I found a local nonprofit that will link in exchange for a donation. A link is from a homepage sponsors section that has about 12 other sponsors. Is this link worth our while since it's only an image and it is one of 12 other sponsors links? Thanks. Yeah, I mean, potentially it could be. Keep in mind, you got to be careful. Sponsored links can be frowned upon, even from charities and such. So, when they note that they're sponsors, that's a clear indication to Google that it's a paid link. It doesn't always necessarily mean that, but it generally does. So it can still have value though. Just, it can still have value. And if it's for a donation for a good cause, why not? Right? Why not? Go ahead and try it and see. Jeff is the next one. He says, do you have any tools or sites you can recommend for expired domains? Yes, PBN Lab. Adam, if you're still here, drop the SM short link for PBN Lab. I use the shit out of that. I've got 3 Exa subscriptions with that, and I've had them for a year and a half now. But it's a great app. I love it because it uses Majestic as its primary metric. Well, you can set it to use Moz as your primary metric or primary metric, but why? Right? So I use Majestic, and then I set filters in there for, trust flow categories, or topical trust flow categories, or whatever it is that I need. And I've been using PBN Lab for, like I said, a year and a half, 3 full top level subscriptions, and it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. I've scraped, I think, 12.5 or 13 million domains now in the last year and a half. So PBN Lab is by far the best. In my opinion. It's a cloud app instead of a desktop app, which I like that. And like I said, it uses Majestic. So Scott Moran runs that. He's in Australia. He's a good guy. Every time I need any help with anything, he's always very responsive. So I really like it. Corey's up. He says, I've been in the SEO industry for 2 years and looking for good ideas to improve my game. I've been following your Hump Day Hangouts for a year and a half because you deliver good stuff and I try to implement it for sure. And I see success. Hey, thanks for letting us know, Corey. That's awesome. I recently came across some folks in various groups talking about Google Stacks. Some folks say it's good and others say it's not. What do you say? Does it work? Do you use it? And if so, how do you implement it? Thanks from OCC. Yeah, I love it when people say Google Stacks don't work. Oh, they're full of shit, man. Yeah, Google Stacks work. It's a Google property, okay? Google loves itself. It's very narcissistic, right? So using Google properties is a great way to kind of push all kinds of things. So anyway, anybody that says Google Stacks don't work, they're just not using them properly. They absolutely work. Google properties, use them as much as possible in everything that you do in SEO. That's why I talk about, and I can't, it baffles me. I've got a lot of link building clients that are familiar with semantic mastery and my training and what we teach and our methods. And even on this, sales calls, and then even after the sales calls, I prompt or encourage my link building clients to always publish the Google business website. If it's a local project, why are you not publishing the Google business profile website? Why are you not using that? I'm not talking to you, Corey, but I'm talking to anybody that's listening that does local SEO. If you're not utilizing that, why not? It doesn't make any sense to not use it. It is a property that Google gives you that is a Google property that when you when it's not used properly, it really has no benefit. But when used properly, it can produce a lot of benefit, right? It's very powerful when used properly. And we teach how to use it properly. And I even provide all of my link building clients with training. Here's how to publish and optimize a Google Business Profile website. Do it. It helps us with link building, and it will help your clients. And still, so many people don't do it, and I don't know why. I've said this 1,000 times, but all I can do is lead the horse to water, right? So Google Business Profile website, use that because it's very powerful when done right. Like it helps discoverability, right? Helping linking out to branded entity assets. Google crawls it. It's a Google property, guys. So Google crawls it. Doesn't matter whether they're going to index all of your links. You want Google to at least crawl your links. How do you get Google to crawl your links? Place them in Google properties, Google Business website, contextual links, Google G site, G Sheets, Google Business Post, and link with the CTA button, the call to action button out to branded supporting assets, various pages and posts on the money site, right? Again, it's about getting the Google bot to come discover and crawl your link. It doesn't matter whether they index it or not. You want them to crawl it. So G sites, again, same thing. All of that, very, very powerful when used properly. So Google Stacks absolutely work. We still use them. One of our members in the chat right now, David Morgan, he by Captain, or actually you did change your name, David. I see that. He just launched a Drive Stack service on Vetted and another marketplace, I believe, as well. And I have yet to purchase one from him, but David's been building Drive Stacks for years. So I know he's very proficient at it. And as soon as I have some bandwidth, I'm going to make some purchases from him. David, feel free to drop your link for your Stack service. I prefer you to drop it on Vetted because we're trying to support Vasco and Vetted. But feel free to drop your link, man, for sure in the chat. And that way other people can get it in the replay as well. But I highly endorse David. I know he's a good dude. He's a very sharp SEO. And so I would encourage you guys to check out his Stack service. Okay. But absolutely they work. And yes, I still use them. Okay. How do you implement it? Well, if you join the mastermind, I'm happy to show you, Corey. And that's not necessarily a blatant pitch, although it is. But seriously, I mean, I do teach how to use Drive Stacks in the mastermind. It's in the SOP. So, and that kind of changes over time too, but we still use it. Absolutely still use it. Okay, great. Well, that was easy. Let's get into the chat. Do I have any other questions? So.
Let's see what we got. I know there was some near the bottom. Let's see. I'll try to follow where you're at.
Cecilia's playing hooky. No, she's here. She said, nope, just keeping quiet. That's funny. Let's see. James has some great gems. Yeah, I've not been through it yet, man, but I was talking to one of our members earlier today, and he said it was quite good too. So I suspected it would be. I wouldn't expect anything less from James.
It's funny you said that, Bradley, about the land flipping, about the CRM Investment Dominator. I was like, man, if somebody creates a CRM and ClickUp, let me know. I'll pay you for a template. But it's like I was doing the same thing until I just sent out second mailing. First one was just kind of a test mailing of like 100. Sent some out, just started getting phone calls today, and then once start actually making some sales, then I'm gonna find something better to use. But at low volume spreadsheets, if you're somewhat proficient with Excel, it's not that bad. Until I could see it though getting pretty complex if you're sending out like thousands of emails a month.
Or letters, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, letters.
Yeah. I don't know that. I think it would be hard to probably do it via email because it's hard to get the email addresses from people.
Yeah, and I mean, it's nice to get in front of people. I think it'd be both. If you could do it, that'd be great, right? If you could come at them from a couple different ways.
Oh yeah. But the problem is a lot of these vacant landowners are older folks that don't really use computers much. Like seriously, it's true. And and so a lot of them have had properties for years, and they just like. It's funny because you send out those letters and you make these just obscenely low offers, like offensively low offers. That's what I always did. Like I made offers on 95% of every call, inbound lead that I would get from my direct mail or whatever. And because even if I didn't want the property, even if I had no idea, like I couldn't determine what the market value of the property was because it was unique or had some kind of strange issues or whatever, I'd still just send out an incredibly like offensively low offer. And sometimes they'd accept it. And sometimes they would say like, you're absolutely stealing this from me, but I'm tired of paying taxes on it. So let's go ahead and do it. Like, I'm not kidding. I would hear that sometimes. And then other times you get, people would write with big black marker or red marker on the letter, like, fuck you, like, or something. Like, seriously, you'd get all kinds of responses. But it was interesting because I had people like literally like call me and act like they were mad, but then they'd say, but I accept your offer. Like, okay. So,
could have just cut to that, but
it's a crazy business, man. It really is. But and then people will threaten to sue you, or they're going to call the police on you because you sent them a letter with an obscenely low offer for their property. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm contacting my attorney. You'll be hearing from my attorney. Okay, fuck you. It's a letter. It's an offer. You can say no.
like,
it's
no, your
so funny.
He's going to be happy. He gets to bill you until you can't do anything. So,
yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
It's a good business though, man.
We got one call. I was checking out the voicemails right before Hump Day Hangouts, and it was a funny one. Somebody, do not contact us ever. We bought this property to hold on to. But I'm like, why bother? Like, just don't say anything. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Sorry. So going back to more relevant questions. Craig was saying, any suggestions to help move a GMB for a client and rankings? That's about as, Craig, no offense, that's about as general as you can get though. That's pretty rough.
Is help move a GMB for a client and ranking. Right now, the quickest thing that I'm seeing make movements is review velocity. So Craig, if you can get a what they call like a review solicitation campaign out for, so like, in other words, get a hold of your client, see if they have a contact list of former clients or customers or whatever. And if so, set up a review solicitation campaign using any one of the dozens and dozens of apps out there that do it. I use High Level, but you can use whatever. There's so many different services out there that will do that now. And then try to do a review solicitation campaign. What I'm finding right now, and I'm sure everybody else experiences this too, but if you get, I had on one of the Tree Care HQ locations that I just added. Well, shit, I'll just demonstrate this one. Stand by, because I'll show you guys what happened with this one. Was I just had on Friday 2 weeks ago, or maybe it might have been almost 3 weeks ago now. But anyway, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was on Twitch in the morning, and I asked the audience, the crazy members that show up every day, David and Cecilia and Michael and Nigel and just a bunch of people that show up every day. And I asked them to go add 4, or just, I needed to have 3 reviews on one of my locations that I had just started optimizing. So I asked them, the people watching at Twitch, I said, look, I need some reviews. Next thing you know, I had 4 reviews, right? I think there was 1. And then I got 3 more in one day. And I'm going to show you what it did to the map. Now, this is in addition to a couple of other things I did, but this was on a Friday. On Monday, the local search grid report regenerated, because I have it set up to regenerate every Monday. And it went from months, because I had this Google business profile for like 2 years and really never did anything with it, to all of a sudden it just blossomed. Like, and it's not fully ranking, but it's definitely a lot better. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. But this just goes to show you, I got 3 reviews in a day. And what I'm seeing right now is if you can, get, it's going to be relative to also how many reviews your competitors have and things like that. But if you can get reviews fairly quickly, I'm seeing that really just light up a local search grid report right now. So let me show you what I mean. I know you guys weren't seeing my screen, but now you are. So here's the keyword for Tree Service Winchester, VA. And you can see I've been having this run for every week for months. And then all of a sudden, damn, was it a month ago? Yeah, it was a fucking month ago. I can't believe it. Time flies, man. So that's where it was on the Friday that I had asked the Twitch members or followers or whatever audience that in the morning, I said, hey guys, I need some reviews. I got 3 more reviews, and that was it. So there's only a total of 4 reviews. And look at this. Boom. See the difference? Like, and I haven't done much since then. because I haven't gotten any more reviews and I've not really done anything to it other than I had a press release that was published on Monday. So not even seeing the result from that yet. Monday or Tuesday. It was published this week. So anyway, but just wanted to show you that kind of movement occurred from just a handful of reviews, right? So review velocity right now is probably the fastest thing to get results. And then engagement too. If you can get real engagement signals from people in your local area, then that's going to move the needle as well. So the two of those together are what I see moving things the fastest right now. Hopefully that's clear. Richard says, and Google is the one property that is difficult to reverse engineer. You're right, Richard. That's why it's hard to build automated, apps that automate stuff with Google. David says a G-Stack question. We need to have some toilet paper for such folks. David says mastermind equals great SOP. Thanks, David. Any suggestion? Oh, I just answered that. Dude wipes work for sensitive bums. You guys, this is what we've devolved to today. Corey, if you've been listening for over a year, you should know the mastermind will be an amazing value. Just do it. Thank you, Richard. Your check's in the mail. David says, I've sat and observed the publishing of SOPs by Bradley each morning. No way I'm going to do it. He already did it. I push the mastermind now. Yeah, thanks, David. And you're right. Anybody wants to see how tedious the process is of developing SOPs, just go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Bradley Benner, and just watch for the last 2 weeks. Just go watch the replays from this morning, for example, where all I'm doing for an hour to an hour and a half every day on Twitch now, and have been for the last couple of weeks, is just developing SOPs. It is incredibly tedious. It sucks. It's no fun, but it is incredibly valuable. Like, it is one of the highest leverage activities you can possibly spend your time on, is developing standard operating procedures so that you can duplicate and delegate. Duplicate yourself, delegate yourself, and remove yourself from the fulfillment process, right? So that you can focus on the higher level activities, the revenue generating activities, which is not in the weeds of fulfilling the services, right? Of course you have to do that. But if you develop an SOP, then you can delegate that work so that you can focus on marketing and sales, right? Which that's what generates the revenue, not publishing a Google business post for your client. That doesn't generate revenue for you, right? So instead of always working on fulfilling because you haven't taken the time to develop SOPs so that you can delegate the work out and remove yourself from the process, that's what you should be spending your time on, right? That's why I said it's one of the highest leverage activities that you can possibly spend your time on, is developing SOPs. It sucks. It's no fun. It's tedious. I don't enjoy it, but I know how damn valuable it is. And that's why I continue to publish them and try to make them available from people in the mastermind. And still a lot of people, not everybody, some people get it, but a lot of people, they just don't, I don't understand. They just don't get it, or they complain about SOP software and stuff like that, whatever. And then they wonder why their businesses are struggling. I don't wonder why their businesses are struggling. I know why they're struggling. But anyway, like I said, you can only lead a horse to water. You can't force them to drink. Craig says, I will add more questions. Okay, cool. Reputation management services. Yeah, Craig, high level. Yeah, high level is what I use. Craig says, I just spoke to someone about the power of reviews. I mean, by far right now, that is just, it's crushing it. Like, if you can get a bunch of reviews fairly quickly, you'll see it. It really lights it up, like the map search grid, really quickly. It's great. By the way, I'm trying to stop share. There we go. Let's see. One thing I've been trying lately is that starting to show fire for me, it's crazy, is driving directions. Yeah, we're doing some pretty cool stuff with that too. We're testing in Local Fury right now, so talk more about that later. And no more Notion users. Yeah, David, I know what you're talking about, because I was complaining about that on Twitch the other day, but I think we're still going to continue updating Notion too. It's just, I got to talk with Adam and next week about that on Tuesday. We'll figure it out. How does answering service smooth? Oh, by the way, Adam, are you using an answering service yet for your land deals, or are you actually fielding the calls yourself?
Fielding them usually, and I've just got it set up to go to voicemail for now until I establish whether, you
Okay.
know, yeah, but that's probably the very first thing I'll do just so I can grab people.
Yeah. Yeah. I never wanted to answer the phone. Because I had already had answering service set up for my lead gen app built, tree
Yeah.
service stuff. So I never answered one freaking inbound call. I always sent it directly to them. And I didn't want to. To be 100% honest, at the time that I was doing land flipping was 2019 and 2021. I still had an aversion to sales calls. Like seriously, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I would try to avoid sales calls at all costs, including even for my agency stuff. I just would always try to do everything through video emails and emails. I hated sales calls. But then as of 2021 or whatever, when I just made the decision that I was going to overcome that fear of selling on the phone, right? Or just doing sales stuff. Yeah. And it took me a year and a half, almost 2 years of really consistent effort to finally become proficient and comfortable with sales. And now I don't have any problem. I'll answer the phone in a split second and I will try to sell. I mean, I have no problem doing sales calls at all anymore. But it was one of those things I had to force it. You know what I mean? Like how do you get good at it, better at anything, guys? You do more of it, right? So if you suck at sales, if you don't like it, if you're scared to make sale, or you don't like to, you hate being, nobody likes to be rejected. I don't either. But it's, what is it? Richard Fenton, the book Go for No, talks about like every time, hey, you want somebody to say no, because you know that for every number of no's you get, right, that you're going to get one yes. And so once you kind of identify what that number is, then like, hey, a no is good because you're that much closer to the next yes, right? And so you just keep repeating, right? And you refine your pitch, you refine your presentation, and you get better at it. And that's why I keep harping on everybody to go to niche down, go to a single niche, because then you get incredibly good, incredibly proficient at being able to sell your services to that particular business type or owner, business owner in that specific industry. Right? Because you constantly refine your pitch and your presentation because you're dealing with the same type of business over and over and over again, right? You can dial the messaging and the vocabulary, the sequence, the cadence, everything, all of that, your tonality, like everything can get dialed in to what is effective. And that's why, like I said, I have no problem doing sales calls now because I went through all of those emotions in order to become comfortable and proficient at it. It wasn't easy, guys. I wish I could tell you it was easy. It wasn't. But it was just through sheer repetition and brute force that I ended up becoming proficient at sales. And now I have no problem jumping on a sales call, like at all. Like I've got no reservations about it at all, but it didn't happen overnight. It took a lot of consistent effort. In our mastermind, we have these small group mini masterminds. And one of them that I had set up, which I was doing 2 of them per week for like a year, almost a year and a half. But one of them was a sales mastermind, and we did every Thursday for an hour. I would meet with about 5 or 6 other mastermind members, and it was almost like a book club because every single week we would meet for an hour and we would, read it. We would go through a book and might read 1 chapter per week, and that was the homework. And then not just read the chapter, but also try to implement the lesson from that chapter. So we were reading different books and things like that, and we would talk and discuss it every week, guys. That's what the power of a mastermind is for. Like, again, join a mastermind and inform small groups with other members in the same mastermind. Our mastermind, you can do that, or join someone else's. I don't care. Just trying to help you guys level up a bit, right? But we did that for, God, at least a year and a half. Every single Thursday, we met, the meeting of the minds. That's what a mastermind is, to discuss sales, like how to get better at selling. And through that process, and also practicing over that year and a half by just jumping on sales calls. And I continually always go back to this, guys. It's why it sits on my desk. It's the spin selling. I know it's hard to see, but the spin selling book from Neil Rackham. This is the handbook, but it's the method that I use for sales. It's great for high ticket or stuff with monthly recurring charges. And so again, I just, through practice and repetition and meeting with other members of our group, the little mini mastermind that we had, and just talking and stuff. I just got better at it. Right. And I'm just telling you guys that because you all can, it's a skill that you can develop, right? Sales and being able to talk confidently and sell your products or services confidently. It's a skill that you develop, but the only way to develop it is through repetition, through practice. So anyway, hopefully that was clear. Would there be any issues branding the lead gen asset to the client if we may have to change that later to a new client? Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Create your own generic brand if you're going to do it. But Chris, that's also why I teach build a directory brand. That's what I'm developing now, that we got a small group in our mastermind going through that. And we hope to launch that later this year, the full program. But because here's the thing, if you build a brand for your directory and then you build a directory local site, that's what I'm calling it, that you build lead gen assets off of, you can still promote your clients or lead buyers or whatever through your own directory assets because it's already tied to a directory. So it makes sense. Do you understand the logical connection there, right? Like, in other words, a company has a presence on a directory, but it's the directory brand. They just have a presence on it, but the directory owns the asset, right? So like Yelp, when you have a Yelp listing, Yelp owns the listing. You have your branded presence on Yelp, but Yelp owns the listing. So it's the same. Why don't you own the asset? That's what I'm saying is, like, you create the directory, then you can create directory local assets that you can still use to promote your client or your lead buyer, your service provider, whatever you want to call it, but it's their branded presence on your asset. That way, in case they decide they don't want to pay you anymore or whatever, you can swap out. You own the asset that is branded for your brand, that's ranked in their area, that you had you were promoting them, but now you can just swap it out with the next contractor or business or whatever in that same area. Does that make sense? That way you maintain control of that asset the entire time. If you try to rebrand stuff, like if you try to build an asset that's branded for your client and then you try to claw that back and then rebrand it again, first of all, it's going to destroy your ability to rank, once you change the brand and everything else. And it's not worth it. No, it's just too much hassle. Why do that, right? Build your own brand, work on your assets. It will benefit them, but it's also benefiting you, right? So that's that's why I've been working on this for 2 years. I've had this idea, but it just now finally is the point where it's becoming a reality. But that's just to get over that shit, man. Like I know, because I'm in an industry where tree services, like I said, about 60% of the tree service contractors that I secure on a yearly basis, the winter comes and then they decide they don't want to continue paying monthly retainer fees during the winter because tree services slow down so much. And look, I understand, but after like years and years of every single year having like a 40 to 60% attrition rate, I decided that I'm just tired of it. I'm just fucking tired of it, man. So that's why it sucks because you go through all this prospecting and sales, you land all these new clients, and then the winter comes because it's a seasonal business. The winter comes in and half the work, 40 to 60%. So on average, half of the clients that I closed that year suspend services. And I hear all the time, well, I'll be back in the spring. The problem is, if you do really good SEO work, a lot of the times they don't come back in the spring because they're still ranking. Right. And so I wanted to avoid that. And so that's why I've been developing this other process, which keeps us in control. We are working on building our assets. Don't get me wrong. You can still do retainer work for the client too, but the front end is always promoting your assets, that then you get them to buy into your assets that will help their business, but it's their budget building authority to your brand. Do you understand? And then you can always upsell, cross-sell, whatever, to also building up their brand. This is the way that I kind of like try to describe it is when I do a discovery call, and guys, again, I just talked about this, spin selling. Spin selling is all about asking questions, situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. It's about asking questions in a particular sequence to where the client talks themselves into, hey, I've got a problem. you've got the solution. I'm going to hire you. Or, you know what I mean? That's essentially what the whole spin selling method is. But throughout the discovery call, whenever I have a call with a potential client, a prospect, that's when I determine what is the most appropriate offer that I can present to them, right? Through the discovery call, the questions that I ask, the discussion that we have, I determine what their budget is. And if they don't have the budget to support a traditional retainer-based engagement, which would be like $1,000 a month minimum for me to promote their brand, right? So me to work on their brand, I can offer them half that cost for me to build asset in their location, their local area that is under my brand for half the cost. And they will get the leads, but it's their money. So it's half the cost, but I own the asset, right? They will get the leads, but I own the asset. So I like to pitch that as a front end because I like to tell them, hey, look, I don't blame you if it's going to take $1,000 a month. If you don't have the budget for that right now, or you're not confident in my ability to be able to get you results within the next 3 to 4 months, because that's how long it's going to take for me to, for me to be able to get the results that you desire. So here's an alternative option. I can build the assets at my expense. You don't pay anything until it starts to produce. And once it does produce, you pay me, $500 a month. And then once you start generating revenue from the leads that my assets are producing for you, right? Then you save some of that money and reinvest that into building your assets, because you, Mr. Tree Contractor, shouldn't be relying on a third party exclusively or only for all of your business leads. It's a great start. It's a great way to help you to generate more revenue right now, but it's in your best interest as a business owner to develop your own presence and generate your own leads. Now, aren't I telling them that, I'm being a business advisor to them, saying like, yes, I want you to buy leads from me for right now as a starting point because it's less expensive for you and it'll help you to generate more revenue for your business, but it's in your best interest to build your own presence and your own lead flow, right? Because you don't want to be reliant on a third party for your for all the leads for your business, because that's a dangerous way to operate a business. So it's a great starting point to leapfrog up into having your own presence boosted in Google and generating leads on your own. So I like to pitch that because, again, remember guys, now I'm leading them into at least using their budget first to build my assets, to promote my brand that they will benefit from. And then I cross-sell them or upsell them, especially after we've developed a little bit of a relationship, right? A working relationship. And they now can recognize like, hey, you know what, this guy, he follows through. He's been able to produce leads for me and everything. I trust that he can do this for me as well. So therefore now I'm willing to also commit to $1,000 a month in retainer for him to build my presence. Does that make sense? And so now you've got two streams of revenue coming in from the same client, one which is benefiting your assets and one which is benefiting his. And if eventually he gets to the point where he doesn't want to continue buying or paying for your leads or renting your assets because his presence is now ranking and also producing leads, well, guess what? You just remonetize those with one of his competitors in the same kind of area. You certainly can. Why can't you? It's your asset. But the thing is, if the guy's making if the company is making a lot of money between both their presence and your assets that they're buying the leads from or renting or whatever, why the hell would they give that up? Right? When you can remonetize that with one of their competitors. You see what I'm saying? Like there's no reason for them to give it up. If they're making money from your assets, why would they give that up? That's the whole point. So anyway, hopefully it's clear. Next. What about citations, Craig? Are you asking what should you do with citations? I didn't see any other questions come in here either. So if that's what you're asking, what about citations? Citations to me right now, I found that it's not necessary. It's not really a quantity thing anymore. It really is more of a quality thing. It's better to have really well optimized, few, but really well optimized citations. I mean, I wouldn't want to pay for Yext power listings separately direct through Yext because it's stupid expensive. But man, if you get it through SEMrush, it's $20 a month. If you have a SEMrush subscription, and there's other ones out there, guys, that are very similar to Yext power listings, but I love it because, again, I wouldn't want to pay for it separately through Yext, but through SEMrush is $20 a month. for Yext Power Listings. And if you have a published street address in the United States, you get about 85 direct business directory listings. You only have to go into one place to optimize them. That is the dashboard area or whatever in SEMrush. It's the same thing in Yext, but it's different dashboard, obviously. But you can go in and thoroughly optimize the profile in one location, and it pushes and syncs out to all of those locations. Another thing that I like about Yext Power Listings is there is what they have. It's called a featured message and a featured message URL. And you can plug in a second URL and a keyword anchor, because the featured message becomes the anchor text. And on even the no follow directory sites, the directory sites that have a no follow link to your main website for your name, address, phone number, and website, it was 60%. I haven't checked it in probably a year and a half now, but the last time I checked it, about 60% of the directories that even had no follow links for the website, the featured message link was a do follow link. So you can get follow link, which where would you point that? The Google business website, right? So the main money site is the name, address, phone number, website URL. That's the main money site. But then the Google business website URL is a featured message URL with exact match keyword as the featured message. Does that make sense? And that's a do follow link from not all of them, but a lot of those profiles. And so in my opinion, it's a much stronger method to use something like that than to go out and build just, a bunch of shitty citations that aren't optimized very well. And the next part of that is drive stacks. Back to the question about, are drive stacks valuable? Of course they are. And if you take all of those well-optimized citations, as well as all the non-traditional citations, social citations, image citations, video citations, all of those, put all of them into the G sheet that's part of the drive stack, then you hyperlink, I can never say that fucking word, whatever it is. There's a formula that you can use it's in the mastermind. And I mean, it's stupid easy. You can just go to Google and get that, but create to where it takes all the URLs in one column and all the keywords in another, and then it creates hyperlinks in the next column. Backlink Factory does this beautifully well as also. And then now you publish that G sheet and you embed that, right? You embed that into the G site. You can embed that into the ID page. You can embed that. So you asked about citations. I'm giving you gold here on how you get a lot more value out of your citations. Number one, optimize them fully. It's not the quantity, it's more the quality that matters. Number two is make them discoverable. Citations aren't that valuable unless Google crawls them, right? That's why you put them in a G sheet and then put it in the G site, put it in an ID page, right? Tweet, publish a Google business post with the sheet URL so that well, it's a Google sheet. Google's going to crawl all that shit, right? So citations are still valuable. They're when done properly and in conjunction with Google properties. That's how you get them discovered. Is that clear? Good question, by the way. All right, guys, we're about to run out of time. So I'm going to roll through what's left and we're going to wrap it up. And Selma, what's up, buddy? He says, another question. Do location pages cannibalize each other, even if it's for different cities? I built a location page for a town next to a big city, and the big city location page was already ranking for that service in town, but was on the second page. Yeah, no, it doesn't, because remember the page title, guys, that's what needs to be unique. So if you're targeting the same keyword, but a different location modifier, that's unique. Does that make sense? It's so no, you can target geo pages or geo posts with keyword plus city, where the same keyword for all the geo pages, but the city is different, right? It makes it unique. It's a unique document title or page title, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Let's see. Raphael says, what would you recommend for someone who just got started with directories? Probably James's course. I have one that's in the mastermind, but it's part of a larger group of SOPs for a whole prospecting and sales process and everything else. If you're looking just for what to do with directories, I haven't been through James's course, but I'm sure it's good. So probably his course. James, feel free to drop your link if you're still here, man. Be your own house, David. Yes, exactly right. Sleek Web Designs. Hey, Chris, my client is on me, the local Fury service, and he wants to know how long you can see a different results. Hey, Chris, who? who he's talking to there. So, gotcha. So the customer will know who they are dealing with when they call. I'm not sure I understand that one either. Would there be any issues branding the lead gen asset to the client if we have to change that later to a new client? No. That's what I'm saying. You know, the directory brand, look, here, let me grab the screen. I know we got to go, but I'm just going to demonstrate this really fast. We go to TreeCare HQ, which is my directory. Okay. This is not the local page component of it, but the point that I'm trying to make here is, you know, if you click into a directory, look, this is a TreeCare HQ asset, but this is Rhonda and Chris's Treeland is the listing. So if somebody's on here and they call Rhonda and Chris's Treeland, they know who they're calling. They're calling Rhonda and Chris's Treeland. They're not calling TreeCare HQ. So how is that any different, right? You build the branded asset for your brand, but you are promoting, you know, the whatever the local business is. So I don't know if that's clear or not, but don't overcomplicate it. That's Frankie making online easy. Hot diggity, Bradley dropping some absolute gems today on free Hump Day Hangout. Sheesh. Yeah, I was unchained. My former partners used to always try to restrict me from sharing information so freely. But in my opinion, you know, look, share as much information. What I found and what we have found, guys, is that, you know, we can share SOPs that are incredibly detailed to where people don't even have to build the SOPs, just follow it. And they still don't do it. 95% of people still, you literally lay it in their lap. Here are the step-by-step instructions on how to execute this, and they still don't do it. And they come to us and say, man, that's awesome. It's incredibly detailed. Can you do it for me? Hence our white label services. So there you go, Frankie. It's okay to share this kind of stuff because I know that only a very tiny fraction of people will actually ever take action on it. There you go, David. I can never say that word. Concatenate. Did I say it properly? Concatenate. I'll never ever say that properly.
You're getting there.
Richard says a smart client would not give up a lead gen source if they understand their math. Exactly right. I work in the tree service industry though, and those guys are generally not that sophisticated. And so they will kill the goose that lays the golden egg if they think that they can squeeze an extra $25 for free, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like building lead gen assets and only doing on what I call a revenue share model, which is where they only pay for leads that they closed and then find out that they're stealing. They're telling you they're not closing leads. Like that's killing the goose that lays the golden egg. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. If you're only paying for leads that have generated revenue, why would you lie and not claim leads that you closed? Like that doesn't make any sense. But I've had that happen dozens of times over the years with tree guys. And I tell them, whenever I catch them cheating, I tell them literally to their face, you're fucking stupid. Like, no kidding, because like, look what you just did. You just ruined a golden opportunity for yourself. It's no wonder you're broke, you know? Anyway. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you sticking around for the next couple of minutes. Adam, see you guys next week.